Hello students, this is a video lecture on the paper English Syntax and Semantics DSE3. In this, I'll cover Unit 1, some topics of Unit 1, which is syntax and the terms and concepts related to the field of syntax. So let's begin. Before we talk about this field of syntax, let's first look at the term syntax. This word has a Greek root, and its etymological meaning is to put things together in an orderly manner. Just like phonetics, phonology, and morphology, it is also a branch of linguistics. It studies the language at the level of sentence in terms of its structure. While analyzing a sentence, we generally break a sentence into its constituent words, and then depending on the part of speech it belongs to, we describe them. This was an early notion of syntax, but there has been many changes in the approach to the study of a sentence structure, as one can observe that a sentence is not just formed by putting the words together, but there are other units like phrases and clauses that are more than a word and less than a sentence that build up a proper sentence. Let's see what constitutes a sentence. So here we can see that words combine to make phrases, phrases combine to make clauses, and clauses combine to make a sentence. So in syntax, we are concerned with the grammatical units at the level of phrases and clauses, along with the parts of speech that we have at the level of words. Let us see these examples here to understand better. The sentence A, C, and D are grammatically correct, but B is not. Let me read it out to you. Sentence A is, the last batsman scored the only century in an otherwise forgettable match. C, the only century was scored by the last batsman in an otherwise forgettable match. D, in an otherwise forgettable match, the last batsman scored the only century. Now let me read out the ungrammatical sentence to you. Batsman otherwise scored match the and in forgettable only last century. Now, in the sentences that are grammatically correct, you will notice the group of words like the last batsman, the only century, and in an otherwise forgettable match. These group of words have stayed together in all the three correct sentences. These are the phrases. It clearly shows that we cannot randomly move the words in a sentence and get a grammatical sentence. But if we keep the phrases intact and then change the position, then you may get grammatically correct sentences. So now let's get into some terms and concepts in syntax. So first we have content word and then we have structural word. We'll understand this using this example here. Riya and Priyanka are going for an adventure trip. So in this, the words in yellow are content words and the words in green are structural words. Now you'll notice that the words Riya, Priyanka, adventure trip, all of these are more or less the names of some object of reality or their qualities. So these are especially these are come under nouns, lexical verbs, adjectives, or some adverbs. So these kind of words are content words, which are important in terms of meaning in a sentence. So now we have structural words. So the words in green are structural words. You'll notice that these words are more important in terms of grammatical structure of a sentence. So these words have little substantive meaning, but they are important in connecting the content words in a grammatical structure. So these are more important in terms of grammar, and content words are more important in terms of the meaning or the content of the sentence. Now we have lexical categories and phrasal categories. So lexical comes from a word lexeme, which means word. So individual words belonging to the parts of speech, all the parts of speech will come under the lexical category. So the word she, then sent, me, a, bunch, of, flowers. These each individual words will be considered as belonging to the lexical category or belonging to different parts of speech. And when it comes to phrasal category, phrases are basically, it moves ahead, one step ahead from the level of words and groups these words, and then we have basically some important phrase structures that we categorize or we put in the phrasal category, like adjective phrase, adverb phrase, prepositional phrase, noun phrase, and verb phrase. So in this sentence, she sent me a bunch of flowers, we have she. So she is a noun, and she here stands individually as a phrase here. Okay, and then sent me a bunch of flowers. So this whole blue part of the sentence will be considered as a verb phrase, because we have the main word here, sent, and sent is a verb, that's why it's a verb phrase. Okay, and if you look at of flowers, so here more, because phrases are more than words, more or mostly, so generally they are more than words. So here of flowers, because of is a preposition, so of flowers can be considered as a prepositional phrase. So this, in this way we see lexical categories and phrasal categories. And now we have complement and adjunct. So complement and adjunct are easy concepts. So complement are those part of a sentence, it may be a word, it may be a phrase, it may be a clause, but these are obligatory elements of a sentence. It is important, it is necessary to complete the expression, to complete the meaning. But adjunct is optional or structurally dispensable. That means even if you remove the adjunct, so even if you remove that part, it will not affect the meaning, the basic meaning of the sentence or the expression. Okay, so complement is important, adjunct is optional. Adjunct are also known as adverbials. So let's see these examples here. So in complement we have two types of complement. We have subject complement and object complement. So first sentence is the example of subject complement. We have Alex is in a bad mood. So Alex is the subject in the sentence. Okay, and this part of the sentence, in a bad mood, so this is telling you about the mood of Alex. That means this is telling you something about the subject. It is, that's why it is the complement of the subject. Okay, and then in the next sentence, they made her the head of the project. So the head of the project is actually telling us something about her and not they. So her is the predicate here, or the object here, they is, so that's why it's complementing the object, that's why it's an object complement. Now in the last sentence, Kajal went to the market to get some vegetables on her scooter. So this blue part, even if you remove it, it is not affecting the expression of the sentence. Kajal went to the market to get some vegetables. This is complete in itself, but you can add extra details by telling that she went on her scooter. So adjunct can be disposed or it can be removed. But in this sentence, Alex is in a bad mood, you cannot remove the complement and just say Alex is. It is not completing anything. Okay, So complements are important, are necessary, adjuncts are optional. So now we have head and modifier. So these concepts apply to phrases. So here we have some examples: the spicy hot noodles and the pepperoni pizza from Pizza Hut. So both these are noun phrases, and the most important word in these two, in the first one, is noodles, and it is independent and it can stand alone. And the other section in blue is telling you the spicy hot noodle. It is telling you something about the noodle. It is modifying or adding something to the meaning of noodle. So the yellow one is the head, which can stand independent, and it tells you which syntactic category it belongs to, which phrase category it belongs to. So because noodles is noun, that's why this whole phrase will be a noun phrase. So noodles is the head and the spicy hot is modifying the head, that's why it is a modifier, and it is in front of the noodles, it is preceding the head, that's why it is a pre-modifier. Okay. Similarly, in the second sentence, the yellow word pizza, it is the head of the phrase, and the pepperoni and from the Pizza Hut. So these two sections or elements, these are telling you something about the pizza, from where it is and what type of pizza it is. So these are, the one in the front is a pre-modifier, and the one after the word pizza, after the word head, sorry, after the head, it is a post modifier. So depending on the position of the modifier, you can term it as pre-modifier or post-modifier. Okay. Modifier is basically one that is dependent on the head for its complete meaning, and it tells you or changes the meaning of the head. Now we have these terms: categorical label, functional label, and then form and function. So these two are somewhat similar. Categorical label can be equated with form, and functional label can be equated with function. So looking at a phrase, looking at the head word, you can determine which phrase it belongs to. If the head word is a verb, it is a verb phrase. If the head word is a noun, it is a noun phrase. So based on that, you categorize it as a different type of phrase, either noun phrase, verb phrase, adjective phrase, or adverb phrase. So you categorize things and put the categorical labels. So this is categorical labels, and in functional label, what you have is, it is not fixed. Based on the role that element is playing in a sentence, based on the function or the role it plays, you categorize it or you label it as the subject of the sentence, or object, or the object complement, or subject complement. So based on the function, you put these labels. So we have this example here: his circumstances made him bad. So we have the noun phrase here, his circumstances, and the verb phrase, made him bad. So these were the categories, and based on the function, we have made him bad acting as the object complement, because it is telling you what his circumstances did to him. So his circumstances made him bad. So it is telling you something about the object, that's why it is acting as an object complement. So these labels, you put on these label on the elements of the sentence based on the function. So similarly, form is also like the categorical label, and it is pretty much fixed, and based on the internal structure of phrase and clause, you categorize it or you label it as a clause or a phrase. So that is the form it has, and the form is determined based on the constituents of the element. Okay, and then we have function. So function is a relational concept and it places an item in relation to another item of higher grammatical status. Okay, so now we have this sentence here. She bought a beautiful jewelry of gold. So here she is the noun phrase. Here it is a single word is acting as a phrase. So she here is noun phrase and bought a beautiful jewelry of gold is a verb phrase. And in that verb phrase we have this section of gold. So of we know is a preposition. So of gold is a prepositional phrase. So based on the constituents, I told you that it is a prepositional phrase. But if you bring it to the relation, bring it in relation to the other elements of the sentence, of gold is telling you something about the jewelry. Okay, so it is adding to the meaning of the noun jewelry. So it is acting as a adverb phrase. So in terms of form it is prepositional phrase, but in terms of function it is functioning as an adverb phrase. So these were the concepts that are important in syntax, and it pretty much covers all the basic concepts in syntax. Alright, so this is it for this video. Thank you.